China, a map drawn with unbelievable things. Every perspective reveals a magnificent spectacle. A vast and diverse land. There are places that at first glance seem otherworldly. However, the longer you look, the more real they become. The imprint of humanity is subtly present in its constructions. In today's journey, we will explore some such structures in China. Places that will make you pause for a moment. And then you'll wonder just how vast this world truly is. If there's one place that leaves anyone who sets foot there speechless, it's Leshan Giant Buddha, a majestic giant Buddha statue carved directly into the cliff face, standing tall on the banks of the Min River in Sichuan Province, China. At first glance, you'll be overwhelmed by its incredible scale. 71 meters tall, equivalent to a 23-story building, with a base width of 8.5 meters, large enough for over 100 adults to stand comfortably. The construction process lasted 90 years, beginning during the Tang Dynasty, 713 AD, and completed in 803 AD. The landscape here, combining the river, mountains, and the Buddha statue, makes anyone who visits feel as if they are stepping into a world beyond imagination, where time seems to slow down before the grandeur of a human masterpiece. In the heart of Beijing lies a colossal monument of memories called the Forbidden City, a place whose mere size of 720,000 square meters is enough to overwhelm you from the very first glance. Imagine placing over 100 football fields side by side, stretching endlessly. That's just the surface of this place. But the real shock lies within. With 980 buildings and 8,886 rooms, the Forbidden City is like a giant labyrinth. If you walked through 10 rooms a day, it would take you almost 3 years to explore it completely. A city not for ordinary people, but reserved exclusively for the emperor. The Forbidden City is entirely surrounded by a 10-meter-high wall, 8.6 meters thick at its base, wide enough to create an entire road within a single wall. Outside lies a 52-meter-wide moat, stretching like a small river embracing the palace, creating the feeling that it is detached from the real world. And what makes it all seem surreal is its near absolute perfection. The entire palace is arranged on a straight axis, nearly 1 kilometer long, as if an invisible hand had drawn a straight line through history. The Forbidden City is not just large, it's large in a way that makes you doubt your own perception. because in some places, standing before it, you no longer feel like you're visiting a structure, but rather like you're standing before a completely different world, where scale and power have been frozen for over 600 years. If there's one place that makes you doubt whether you're standing in reality or stepping into an ancient dream, it's Tengwang Pavilion in Nanchang. This structure is 57.5 meters tall, equivalent to a nearly 20-story building, but the absurdity lies in the fact that the entire structure resembles architecture over 1,300 years old. No concrete, no reflective glass, just layers of curved roofs stacked on top of each other like waves frozen in mid-air. The building has 9 floors, but from a distance, it's not simply a structure, but rather a vertical architectural mountain, each floor extending wider than the one below, creating the feeling that the entire structure is suspended and expanding with each breath. The columns below are so large that 2 adults couldn't encircle them, supporting the enormous weight above. The intricately interwoven wooden structure resembles a 3-dimensional labyrinth. If disassembled, it could easily lead you astray within its own form. Inside, the ceilings on each floor reach 10 meters in height, enough to completely enclose a normal house with ample space remaining. The spiral staircase leading to the top is so long that if straightened out, it could almost span the length of a small street. And when you stand on the highest floor, the entire city of Nanchang shrinks below like a miniature model. The distant river is just a thin ribbon of silk, and the people almost disappear from view. The most astonishing thing is not its size, but the fact that this structure was built in ancient times, before any modern machinery existed. On one side, 21st century technology is only just beginning to construct high-rise buildings. On the other hand, more than a millennium ago, humanity created a wonder that even today must admire. Without the noise or ostentation, Lijiang ancient town overwhelms visitors in its own unique way. The entire city, spanning 145.6 hectares, stretches like a giant ancient silk cloth. Located at an altitude of approximately 2,400 meters, it seems to be situated between heaven and earth. Amazingly, it has existed for over 1,000 years and has retained almost its original structure. Beneath each street lies an ancient water system that flows throughout the city. The water meanders through each house, like the bloodstream nourishing a massive body. Without the need for modern machinery or technology, this system continues to function reliably to this day. This is one of the things that makes Lijiang almost unbelievable. The houses here are mostly 2 stories high, made of wood and arranged in a continuous line. They are not built in straight lines, but curve along the natural terrain. Viewed from above, the entire city resembles a painting drawn with soft flowing curves. Each alleyway opens up to a different space. The deeper you go, the more you feel that this place has no end. What's special is that the city has no surrounding walls. It's completely open to nature and the outside world. This lack of defense is what has allowed Lijiang to survive for centuries. This is a very rare paradox in ancient architecture. Perhaps that's why UNESCO recognized it as a World Heritage Site. Not because it's the largest, but because it's a living testament to the sophistication of ancient people. A city that doesn't need modernity to function perfectly over time. If there's one place that makes you feel that humans not only live in harmony with nature, but also have the power to rewrite its course, it's the Three Gorges Dam. Spanning 2,335 meters and 185 meters high, this structure acts as a giant divider splitting the Yangtze River, the world's 3rd longest river. The concrete alone consumed approximately 27.2 million cubic meters, enough to build dozens of skyscrapers, stacked together to form an artificial mountain range that will never collapse. Behind the dam lies a reservoir with a capacity of approximately 39.3 billion cubic meters of water, stretching over 600 kilometers, transforming a vast area into a freshwater sea nestled amidst the mountains of China. This structure boasts 32 main turbines, each with a capacity of approximately 700 megawatts, creating a total capacity of 22,500 megawatts, enough to power tens of millions of households, equivalent to the combined output of many small nations. When the floodgates are opened, the water flow can exceed 100,000 cubic meters per second, creating enormous columns of water cascading downstream, like hundreds of massive waterfalls roaring simultaneously in the middle of the river. And few know that to build this structure, more than 1.3 million people had to be displaced, thousands of villages and ancient relics were permanently submerged, a colossal price behind its greatness. What makes the Three Gorges Dam almost unreal is the sheer scale of the reservoir. NASA scientists once calculated that it could slightly alter the Earth's rotation, lengthening a day by about 0.06 microseconds. Standing before this structure, you feel as if you are looking at something that not only blocks the river, but is also silently impacting the very planet we live on. Have you ever imagined a place where, even standing still, you feel like you're leaving the ground? That's the Bailong Elevator. At 326 meters tall, it's the world's tallest outdoor elevator, equivalent to the height of a building over 100 stories. Amazingly, the entire system is attached directly to a natural sandstone pillar. As if man-made, a colossal structure has been anchored to the Earth's backbone. The elevator consists of 3 double-decker cabins, each capable of carrying approximately 50 people per trip. This means that in a single operation, nearly 150 people can simultaneously ascend vertically to the mountaintop. The speed reaches approximately 3 to 5 meters per second, taking visitors across the entire 326-meter height in less than a minute, so fast that walking would take 2 to 3 hours of continuous uphill climbing to reach the destination. The feeling of standing inside the transparent glass cabin is not like riding an elevator, but more like being pulled straight up into the sky, where giant rock pillars gradually slide down below. To construct this structure, a massive steel system had to be fixed to the cliff face, capable of supporting hundreds of tons of weight, while ensuring absolute safety against strong winds, heavy rain, and the rock formations hundreds of millions of years old. The base of the elevator is embedded deep within the mountain, while the top part is almost suspended in midair, creating a structure that from afar looks like a slender line cutting through the giant cliff. More than just a transportation structure, the Bailong Elevator is also a gateway to time, taking you from the bottom of a dense valley to a world of rock pillars suspended in the clouds, a place that once inspired the landscapes of the movie Avatar. As the cable car ascends, the entire rocky forest, with over 3,000 sandstone pillars ranging in height from 200 to 300 meters, unfolds, giving the sensation of floating amidst a city of stone in the sky. Imagine a road that doesn't lie on the ground, doesn't cling to mountains, but hangs suspended in midair, where a glance reveals a nearly 600-meter deep abyss, so deep that all sound seems to be swallowed before it reaches the bottom. This isn't a movie effect, nor is it computer graphics. This is where humans have pulled a bridge across the sky, transforming an invisible void into a real road, challenging all limits of engineering and courage. The Beipanjiang Bridge, the world's highest suspension bridge, spans a deep gorge between Guizhou and Yunnan provinces. At 565 meters from the bridge deck to the valley floor, it's taller than the One World Trade Center, 541 meters, and if placed on the ground, it would be almost equivalent to a building of over 180 stories standing vertically in nature. The bridge, spanning approximately 1,341 meters in length, with its main span measuring 720 meters, hangs suspended between two sheer cliffs like a giant thread connecting two worlds. From a distance, the bridge appears so slender that it almost disappears into the mountain mist, like a delicate brushstroke across the sky, yet it is strong enough to carry thousands of tons of vehicles daily. Before its construction, crossing the Beipanjiang Gorge could take 4 to 5 hours. Now that time is shortened to about 1 hour, a transformation not only in distance, but also in how humanity conquers the harsh terrain. More than just a feat of engineering, the Beipanjiang Bridge is a symbol of humanity's ability to overcome seemingly insurmountable obstacles. From a gorge once considered impenetrable, it has now become a vital transportation artery connecting developed regions of China. Imagine you're flying over Beijing, and as the plane descends, below you isn't an airport, but a bizarre shape resembling a giant creature with 5 arms outstretched, embracing the ground. That's Daxing International Airport, where the terminal alone covers approximately 700,000 square meters, so large that if you walked continuously, you could spend hours exploring the entire space. Completed in 2019 at a total cost of around $80 billion, it's not just an airport, but one of the most ambitious infrastructure projects ever built in the 21st century. What makes Daxing completely different is how it bends all the logic of traditional airport design. Instead of extending as an endless straight line, the entire structure is designed in a concentrated model, with 5 branches radiating from a central core. Thanks to this design, the furthest distance from the security area to the boarding gate is only about 600 meters, a figure that seems almost unbelievable given its enormous scale. You don't need an internal train to move between terminals. You don't need to rush through endless corridors. Everything is condensed within a radius that makes you forget you're in one of the world's largest airports. Above you is a gigantic steel dome with thousands of interwoven components weighing hundreds of thousands of tons, yet designed to allow natural light to flood into every corner. Viewed from below, the structure resembles a giant biological network where light filters through every gap, creating the feeling that the space is breathing. This project is the final work of the legendary architect Zaha Hadid, who transformed an airport into a futuristic work of art, where every curve is purposeful and there are no rigid right angles. Daxing International Airport was designed to serve up to 100 million passengers annually, equivalent to the population of a large nation. The planned runway system includes 7 runways, capable of handling hundreds of thousands of flights each year, transforming it into a massive transportation hub connecting China to the globe. But even more astonishing is the speed of construction. Such a complex and massive project was completed in just about 5 years, a time frame that would take many other countries twice or even 3 times to achieve. Daxing is more than just an airport. It's a testament to the fact that when architecture, technology, and ambition meet, people can create things that are not only functional, but also capable of making the world stop and marvel. If one day, cities no longer expand outwards but begin to curl and rise, the Shanghai Tower would be the first version of that future. More than just a tall building, it's a 632-meter-tall vertical structure with 128 floors above ground, where the entire urban rhythm from work and rest to entertainment is compressed into a single spiral axis in the heart of Shanghai. From the first glance, you'll realize this tower isn't stationary. The entire structure twists gently, about 120 degrees from base to top, forming a soft curve, as if the wind has invisibly touched and rotated the building in its direction. This design not only creates a visual impact, but also significantly reduces wind force, a crucial factor for a structure taller than half a kilometer. Surrounding the tower is a double-glaze system, creating a massive buffer space that transforms the entire structure into a climate-controlled shell, saving energy and stabilizing the interior temperature. Inside, the Shanghai Tower resembles a vertical city with a total floor area of over 420,000 square meters. If laid horizontally, this area would be equivalent to dozens of large shopping malls combined. But here, everything is stacked vertically, from offices and hotels to shopping malls and entertainment spaces. The building's foundation uses nearly 1,000 deep-drilled piles, holding the entire structure, weighing hundreds of thousands of tons, firmly in place on Shanghai's soft ground. And to take people almost to the clouds, the world's fastest elevators reach speeds of approximately 20.5 meters per second, so fast that it takes less than a minute to travel from ground level to a height of over 560 meters, equivalent to climbing a mountain without taking a single step. But what makes the Shanghai Tower different isn't just its height or speed. This structure is designed as a self-sustaining ecosystem with overhead wind turbines and a rainwater harvesting system, contributing to reduced energy consumption. The total construction cost was approximately $2.4 billion, enough to create an entire sprawling urban area. Yet here, it's all packed into a single structure, a vertically compressed city. And on foggy days, the top of the tower almost completely disappears, leaving the impression that the structure is not only tall, but also gradually dissolving into the sky. If one day you find yourself in a place where you enter the ground floor but exit on the 8th floor, looking up to see the sky as the roof of hundreds of stacked rooms and looking down to a deep, winding river, then you've most likely arrived at Hongya Cave, one of China's strangest structures, where architecture seems to have been bent in a way no book can explain. This structure is about 75 meters tall, equivalent to a building of more than 20 stories, but it doesn't stand alone. Instead, it clings tightly to the cliff face of the Jiling River. The entire complex has 11 floors and covers an area of about 46,000 square meters, containing hundreds of shops, restaurants, and cultural spaces. If this area were placed on flat ground, it would spread out like a bustling street. But here, everything is compressed vertically, stacked layer upon layer like giant Lego blocks standing upright in mid-air. Hongya Caves is built in the Diaojiaolu style, a traditional stilt house style of the mountainous region, with supporting pillars deeply embedded in the rock. However, instead of a few small houses, the architecture is expanded to the scale of an entire complex, making the whole structure appear to be suspended on the mountainside. A unique feature is the multiple entrances at different heights, each considered a ground floor. This creates an almost paradoxical experience. You can enter from the street level, walk through the corridors, and suddenly appear 5 to 7 stories higher without climbing any stairs. This area has a history of over 2,000 years, once part of the ancient city of Baiyu, but the current structure was completed in 2006 to recreate the ancient architecture while incorporating modern tourism. Every day, tens of thousands of people flock here, especially in the evening when the entire complex is illuminated by thousands of golden lights. At this moment, Hongya Cave's reflection in the water creates a shimmering mirror below, making the entire structure appear to float in mid-air. This scene often evokes the world of Hayao Miyazaki, where everything is both illogical and unbelievably beautiful. Not the tallest, nor the largest, but Hongya Cave is one of those rare structures that makes you lose your sense of direction. And perhaps it is precisely the moment you stand amidst this labyrinth of light, unsure of which level you are on, that you realize there are places in the world that don't need to be grand. They just need to be unusual enough to make reality seem hazy. There are places you have to get very close to believe they're real, but there are also places that, even from afar, seem so illogical that they almost seem impossible. Furong town is one such place. Amidst the mountains and forests of Hunan, an ancient village over 2,000 years old doesn't sit in a valley or on a mountaintop, but clings directly to the edge of a waterfall about 60 meters high, where the white water cascades down continuously like a giant curtain that has never been drawn. From afar, the village looks like a giant stone boat stuck in mid-air, with the rushing water behind it and a deep abyss in front. A scene both majestic and one that makes people pause for a few seconds just to confirm everything they see is real. Hundreds of ancient wooden houses, many dating back to the Ming and Qing dynasties, are built close together on the vertical rock face, layered like giant steps climbing towards the sky. If you look closely, you'll see that each roof seems to be clinging to the cliff face, while the entire village resembles a living organism, clinging to the mountain to avoid being swept away by the waterfall behind it. The wall of water behind it is dozens of meters wide, cascading down with immense force, creating a thin mist that envelops the entire area, giving Furong town a perpetually ethereal appearance, as if it were floating between two worlds, one side rock, the other water. Wooden balconies jutting out into the air resemble suspended stopping points, where people can sit, drink tea, eat, and gaze directly at a colossal stream of water cascading freely before their eyes, an experience both breathtakingly beautiful and heart-pounding, like standing on the edge of an all-too-real dream. This place was once called Wangchun, also known as King Village, until the 1986 film Furong Town transformed it into an icon, leading to restoration efforts to preserve every tile and stone step. And perhaps it is this very contrast that creates the irresistible allure. On one side, a colossal stream of water relentlessly rushing down, like time cannot stand still. On the other, a small village, quietly existing for millennia. Furong Town is not just a place, but more like a gentle challenge to nature that sometimes humans don't need to win. Simply standing firm alongside the greatest is already a miracle. If you want to witness an architectural masterpiece that will leave your mind reeling, the Harbin Opera House is the place to go. Nestled amidst the icy, snow-covered landscape of Heilongjiang Province, this building is not just a theater, but a living structure where humans seem to blend seamlessly with nature in an incredibly spectacular way. From the first glance, you'll be overwhelmed by the graceful, flowing curves, like giant glaciers slowly flowing through the Arctic landscape, yet perpetually frozen in concrete and glass. The Harbin Opera House spans an area of 72,000 square meters, roughly the size of 10 standard football stadiums placed side by side, with the main structure reaching a height of 40 meters, equivalent to a 13-story building. All the architectural blocks are designed to be interconnected in a rhythmic, undulating flow, creating the feeling of a concrete river flowing through the city, yet remaining solid and immobile. The smooth curves are not just aesthetic details. They also reflect sunlight throughout the day, making the theater sparkle like crystal even in the freezing winter. Inside, the main auditorium has 1,600 seats and a ceiling 22 meters high, large enough to hold a giant tree standing upright without touching the ceiling. The sound and lighting systems are arranged along the curves of the building, making any concert feel as if the sound is emanating directly from nature, intertwining with the architecture, like a vibrant architectural symphony. The most impressive aspect is the harmonious blend of architecture and landscape. From afar, the theater resembles an iceberg floating on a frozen plain, soft yet majestic, far larger than any traditional building. The undulating walls appear not to have been built by humans, but rather to be part of the frozen natural landscape, giving the impression of a colossal sculptural masterpiece created jointly by Mother Nature and humankind. Imagine a place where winter isn't just cold, but a frozen universe, where everything shines like crystal under the silver light of the sun and electric lights. Here, ice isn't just a material, it's the creator of the world, building towering castles, winding dragons, and mythical sculptures beyond your imagination. Welcome to Harbin Ice City, where humans have transformed water into a city of wonder, stunning all the senses. From the entrance, you'll see ice castles up to 40 meters high, equivalent to a 13-story building, with glittering domes and ice columns as tall as a double-decker bus stacked on top of each other. The vast space stretches for hundreds of meters, large enough to hold a mini stadium, and every step feels like walking on the moon, with only ice and reflected light everywhere. The ice dragons, 25 meters long, coil around the castles, their heads reaching as high as a 10-story building, their bodies large enough to fit a car comfortably inside. Mythological statues, 15 to 20 meters tall and as wide as a bus, their wings spread out to cover a mini football field, leave you speechless at their grandeur. All are adorned with thousands of LED lights, making the ice reflect light like millions of diamonds, sparkling amidst the winter fog. The climate here, with winter temperatures often below -20 degrees Celsius, allows these colossal structures to endure, creating the feeling of being in a city of ice, where the fragile yet majestic ice formations are breathtaking. Morning fog and evening glow illuminate the towering skyscrapers, rising from the clouds like ice islands in a crystal paradise. In Harbin, every number seems absurd, yet in reality, from height and length to the number of ice blocks used, it all creates a space you won't forget, a place where imagination meets reality in the most spectacular way. Is there anywhere on Earth that makes you feel like you're standing in the middle of a 3D painting created by both time and geology? It's the Zhangye Rainbow Mountains. The mountain range stretches over 30 kilometers, with peaks reaching 1,500 meters like vibrant walls touching the sky, more than 15 times taller than the Statue of Liberty, and enough to make any hiker look up in awe. The layers of multicolored sandstone, red, yellow, orange, pink, blue, and purple, are the result of millions of years of interwoven mineral deposits, each layer like a brilliant blanket skillfully draped over the mountains by Earth. Sunlight illuminates the cliffs, bringing the colors to life, as if the mountains are breathing, undulating with the rhythm of time. The sheer cliffs, ranging from 200 to 400 meters high, are so steep that standing at the foot of the mountain, you feel as if you're looking up at a giant wall rising into the sky, nearly 4 times taller than the Eiffel Tower. The cracks and protruding rock formations create bizarre shapes, sometimes resembling dragons winding through the clouds, other times like giant wrinkles of the earth telling stories of millions of years. Not only visually captivating, Zhangye is also home to many resilient, arid plant species and rare endemic birds, as if nature itself proudly displays its majestic yet proud beauty. Here, every number, from height and length to slope, is no longer meaningless. They become melodies, stirring your mind with the beauty and grandeur that the earth has created. If you thought the world had run out of breathtaking wonders, the Emerald Salt Lake in Qinghai will instantly change your mind. Spanning over 50 square kilometers, the lake is 25 kilometers long and approximately 2 kilometers wide, enough to make you imagine yourself standing before a miniature blue sea in the Qinghai Plateau, 4 times larger than the center of Manhattan. The lake's depth reaches 20 meters, a seemingly modest figure. But imagine, if you placed a 6-story building underwater, it would still be completely swallowed. Surrounding the lake are towering mountains ranging from 3,000 to 4,000 meters, nearly 10 times taller than the Empire State Building, creating a natural arc that seems to embrace the lake. Even more magical is the lake's color. The water isn't just blue, it's so blue you feel like you're looking at liquid jade flowing in the sunlight. In the morning, the lake is a pale, crystal-clear blue. At noon, the blue becomes vibrant, reflecting the vast sky. And as dusk falls, the lake turns a deep blue tinged with purple, making the landscape look like something out of a surreal 3D painting. Geologically, the lake was formed from an extremely high salt concentration, enough for a small boat to glide across its surface and float as if on a glass mirror. Each season, the water's color changes, transforming the lake into a never-ending dance of light and blue, leaving anyone who stands before it wondering if it's real or just an illusion. Emerald Lake Qinghai is more than just a destination. It's living proof that nature can be grander than any man-made creation, where the numbers of size, length, and height become an experience that overwhelms anyone who stands before it. In Dawa County, Panjin City, Liaoning Province, China, lies a wonder that amazes anyone who sets foot there. The Panjin Red Beach, where the Liaohe River meets the sea, salt water and fresh water mingle, creating a natural stage for a vibrant burst of red color every autumn. Viewed from above, the entire swamp area, approximately 130 square kilometers, resembles a vast fiery carpet twice the size of Manhattan, with the main red landscape spanning 20 to 26 square kilometers, equivalent to nearly 30 standard football fields lined up side by side, stretching to the horizon, making it impossible for the eye to take in all its shades. This vast expanse of Red Sea is no less impressive than any national park in the world. It's much larger than many famous green areas, with a uniform red color like a giant velvet carpet stretching to the sky, making anyone viewing it from afar feel as if they are standing before a natural ocean of fire, where the waves aren't water but millions of red reeds swaying in the wind. A 1.9-kilometer-long wooden boardwalk leads visitors through the vibrant landscape, like a magical path into an imaginary world where nature is the most masterful artist. The wetland is not only a giant carpet of color, but also home to over 260 species of birds, including the red-crowned crane and the black-billed gull, along with more than 400 other animal species. As the white wings flutter against the fiery red backdrop, the scene resembles snowflakes falling amidst a sea of fire, overturning all notions of proportion, distance, and color, and the observer suddenly realizes their own insignificance, almost dissolving into this surreal landscape. If there's one place on Earth that feels like stepping into an unreal dream, it's the Badain Jaran Desert. Spanning over 49,000 square kilometers, roughly the size of two islands combined, this desert is not only vast, but also boasts towering sand dunes, many reaching 200 to 300 meters, with the tallest reaching around 500 meters, the height of a skyscraper like the Empire State Building. The stable, undulating dunes resemble giant golden waves, standing majestically against the sky, making anyone standing amidst them feel as small as a speck of dust in the universe. Amidst this vast sea of sand, more than 140 natural lakes peek through, some freshwater, others saltwater like the sea, reflecting the clear blue sky, creating a scene like hidden gems in the desert. When the wind blows across the dry sand dunes, the sand sings, its sound echoing like a magical drum, bringing the space to life, both mysterious and enchanting. Despite its harshness, Badain Jaran is home to extraordinary creatures. Here, you can encounter dromedary camels, leisurely traversing the sand like golden warriors in the desert, or agile desert hares hiding in the shadows of the dunes. Sand snakes and desert lizards skillfully weave through the hot sand, while eagles and hawks soar in the sky, observing the vast desert landscape from above. The persistent survival of these animals in this harsh environment highlights the desert's resilience, making anyone who sets foot here feel the strange harmony between grandeur, wildness, and vibrancy all in one space. The harsh desert temperatures, with a difference of up to 50 degrees Celsius between day and night, further accentuate the wild and magical beauty of Badain Jaran, where the unforgiving nature transforms into a spectacular landscape, a blend of golden sand, deep blue lakes, and the echoing sound of the wind. Every step across the desert is like a journey into a miniature universe, where one feels both insignificant and awestruck by the absolute grandeur of the earth. Located at an altitude of 3,645 meters, equivalent to placing an entire city on the clouds, Karakul Lake appears in the Pamir Plateau as an entity defying all conventional logic. The lake is only about 4.8 square kilometers, which doesn't sound very large, but imagine that area is equivalent to more than 600 football fields stacked together to form a giant flat surface, suspended precariously in mid-air. And what makes Karakul terrifying isn't its width, but its depth. With a maximum depth of 242 meters, it's like a freshwater black hole that could swallow a 70 to 80-story building without a trace. Surrounding the lake aren't ordinary hills and mountains, but real walls of the earth. The 7,546-meter-high Mustaq Atta stands majestically in the distance, twice your height, like a frozen giant looking down upon the lake. Furthermore, the Hongya Peak, reaching 7,649 meters, almost touches the stratosphere, making everything below, including Karakul, look like a drop of water trapped in space. But the strangest thing lies in the water itself. Karakul Lake has no outlet. It's a completely closed basin, like a giant bowl of nature, where every drop of water is trapped. Therefore, the water's color constantly changes with the light, blue, turquoise, then turning to a deep, almost black blue. The name Karakul in Turkic means black lake, and at certain moments, the lake's surface truly becomes a deep, black mirror, reflecting the sky to the point where you feel that taking another step would send you plummeting into the void. There are no forests, no cities, only cold winds, and air so thin that each breath feels like climbing an invisible ladder. This very emptiness amplifies everything many times over. Here, a 4.8 square kilometer lake is no longer just a lake, but more like an ocean suspended in mid-air. And standing before Karakul, you see not just a landscape, but a clear realization that when nature reaches sufficiently large numbers, it no longer looks real. In Danzhou City, Hainan Province, there exists a structure that makes anyone who sees it from above pause for a few seconds, wondering, is this real or just a giant 3D model in the middle of the ocean? It is Ocean Flower Island, an artificial archipelago shaped like a giant flower blooming in the sea. The entire area covers approximately 3.81 square kilometers, but astonishingly, the land itself didn't exist before. It was entirely reclaimed from the sea by humans. Viewed from above, 3 separate islands are joined together to form a giant flower, with petals extending kilometers into the sea, creating a total length of approximately 6.8 kilometers, equivalent to the length of a walk through several inner-city districts. This shape is not just a design, it's like a giant imprint on the water's surface, so distinct that it's recognizable from satellites, making the entire surrounding ocean seem like a backdrop for an unimaginable architectural masterpiece. Huayang Island is not just a tourist destination, but a bold human experiment, where the ocean is no longer a boundary, but a blank canvas for architecture to create things that seem to exist only in the imagination. In the heart of Shenzhen, a city that once grew at an almost surreal pace, stands a structure that renders all measurements of height meaningless: the Ping An Finance Center. Rising to 599.1 meters, this tower is not simply an architectural marvel, but rather a decisive stroke of human artistry against the sky, a cold, sharp line stretching from the ground to where the clouds begin to form. Its height is nearly double that of the Eiffel Tower, as if two iconic world symbols were superimposed, only to reach the edge of the thin air. With 115 above-ground floors and a total area of over 460,000 square meters, the Ping An Finance Center is not a building. It is a vertical city where tens of thousands of people work daily in a space compressed vertically. The stacked floors resemble layers of ambition, each one a step closer to the sky. Covered in massive glass, the tower seems to dissolve into the pale blue sky during the day, transforming into a vertical column of light at night, like a lighthouse in a concrete ocean. It reflects not just light, it reflects the dizzying pace of development of a city that never sleeps. In just a few dozen seconds to about a minute, the high-speed elevator system can take people from the ground to a height of over 500 meters, so fast that the sense of space is distorted. And when the doors open, you are no longer looking down at the city, but observing it as a miniature model, where once towering buildings now resemble stacked boxes, and the traffic becomes a fragile blur of movement. Standing there, high in the sky, you'll realize a paradox. The higher you go, the clearer you see the world, yet the smaller you feel. Ping An Finance Center is not just a place to touch the clouds. It's a place where people try to touch their own limits and then quietly realize those limits are still very far away. Qiandao Lake. In the heart of China lies a place that, at first glance, appears to be a peaceful landscape painting. But in reality, Qiandao Lake is a colossal machine that has swallowed up history. This lake spans 573 square kilometers on a map, almost the size of a medium-sized city, not just a simple lake. On its surface, 1,078 islands rise like fragments of a sunken world, so many that if you visited one island a day, it would take you nearly 3 years to see them all. But what truly leaves people speechless isn't what's above, but below. Hidden beneath the water, in places reaching depths of 120 meters, the equivalent of a 30-story building, lies an entire ancient urban system, once home to over 300,000 people. Cities like Lion City, Lijiang, didn't disappear. They were simply pushed to the bottom of the lake. Imagine diving to a depth equal to the height of a skyscraper, and before you are not rocks or sand, but stone city gates, wide roads wide enough for ancient horse-drawn carriages to run side by side, all still there after decades of being submerged. This entire lake is actually a giant lid covering over 1,300 villages and many ancient cities buried in a single event in 1959. And the most terrifying thing is that all you see, the calm surface of the water, the lush green islands, is just the tip of a much larger world lying silently beneath. There are moments when, standing before structures so tall their peaks blend into the clouds, and landscapes so strange that the eyes cannot believe them, humanity suddenly feels smaller than ever. This world is not only vast, but also holds things beyond imagination, where nature and human hands combine to create almost surreal scenes. There are places that don't appear on familiar maps, not part of crowded journeys, yet exist silently like colossal secrets waiting to be discovered. The amazing thing isn't that these places are too far away, but that they've always been there. We just haven't been curious enough to find them. And when you begin to realize that, you'll also understand that this world still holds countless things, stranger, grander, and more beautiful, making all the limitations you've ever known seem insignificant. If you want to be one of the few to see these things before they become commonplace, subscribe now, because the journey ahead isn't for those who want to stand still, but for those curious enough to step out and explore the world in a completely different way.